Welcome to New Careers Academy, your trusted source for daily current affairs and defense exam preparation since 1967.
In the shadow of the British Empire, with independence within our reach, India stood on the cusp of defining its future. It was December 9, 1946, a Monday morning unlike any other. In New Delhi's Constitutional Hall, 207 elected representatives gathered under one roof. Their task was monumental to frame the constitution of, as yet, unformed free India. The meeting marked the birth of the Constituent Assembly, the body that would go on to shape the largest democracy in the world. The timing was critical, communal tensions ran high, the country was still under the colonial rule, and millions hoped for a just and inclusive system of governance. What unfolded that day wasn't just a political event, it was a moment of quiet revolution, signaling India's first real assertion of legislative self determination. Why were they chosen? And how did these events of that day set the foundation of the longest written constitution in the world? This is the story of how India's constitutional journey began with vision, hope, and resolve. Well, coming to the formation of the assembly, the Constituent Assembly of India was not formed through a general public vote, but under the guidelines of the 1946 Cabinet Mission Plan, which aimed to ensure representative participation without delay. A total of 389 seats were allocated, out of which 292 members were elected by the provincial legislative assemblies. 93 represented princely states and 4 came from chief commissioner provinces. The representatives were not chosen by direct adult franchise or what we call elections, and they came primarily from the educated elite sections of the society. Yet the responsibility they carried was enormous to design a constitution for a nation over 300 million, most of whom were illiterate and had never voted. By June 1947, the partition of India under the Mountbatten Plan led to the creation of separate Constituent Assembly for Pakistan. The final strength of the Indian Constituent Assembly was reduced to 299 members. The body included people of towering intellect and various ideologies. From Ambedkar to Nehru, Patel to Rajendra Prasad, despite disagreements, these individuals shared one goal: to lay down the principles that would define a free, inclusive, and just India for generations to come. On the morning of the December 9, 1946, the Constitution Hall in New Delhi now was transformed for history. Bright chandeliers lit the hall, the walls glowed with anticipation, and semicircular rows of seats faced the presidential dais. Leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, B.R. Ambedkar, Maulana Azad, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and Dr. Rajendra Prasad occupied the front row. Visitors and press filled the upper galleries witnessing historic things in motion. At precisely 11 a.m., the session commenced with the introduction of Dr. Sachchidananda Sinha as the temporary chairman. Sinha, a veteran lawyer and member of the Central Legislative Assembly, had been selected as he was the oldest member present. As each of the 207 attending members presented the credentials and signed the assembly register, the air was filled with a sense of purpose and anticipation. This wasn't just another political meeting, it was the first step towards building a nation. Despite the absence of representatives from the Muslim Assembly or the Muslim League, which had boycotted the session, the assembly moved forward. For the members present, the mission was clear: to design a constitution that embodied justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity for all Indians. This was the beginning, solemn, symbolic, and charged with historic weight. The international significance of this day was not lost on the global community. At the start of the session, Dr. Sinha read out telegrams of goodwill from several nations, message that reflected India's rising stature and the world's hope for democratic future. The United States extended its sincere good wishes for successful conclusion of the great task that you are about to undertake. The message also noted India's potential to contribute to peace, stability, and cultural progress across the world. From China came a heartfelt message expressing hope that Constituent Assembly would lay a solid foundation for democratic and prosperous India. It was a symbol of regional solidarity at a time of dramatic global change. Australia too offered congratulations, observing that the opening of the assembly signaled a new era for India, and that for the broader international community. These messages did more than flatter. They validated the process which was underway and reminded the members that their efforts were being watched with optimism far beyond Indian borders. At a time when India had yet to gain full independence, the world already recognized its potential to lead the democracy and vision. That day, Dr. Sachchidananda Sinha inaugural address laid down the intellectual and moral foundation for the work that laid ahead. He spoke not only as a seasoned legislator but as a patriot, deeply aware of the historic nature of the movement. He reminded the Assembly of the Indian National Congress 1936 Fazipur resolution, which had demanded the formation of a Constituent Assembly empowered to frame India's constitution without external interference. Now, a decade later, that vision was finally taking shape. To inspire the members, he turned to literature and philosophy. Quoting the poet Allama Iqbal, he recited, यूनान ओ मिस्र ओ रोमा सब मिट गए जहां से बाकी अभी तलक है नाम और निशान हमारा. What does it mean? Greece, Egypt, and Rome all have disappeared. But the name and fame of India have survived the ravages of time. Sinha saw this as a proof of India's enduring spirit, a civilization that could not be extinguished. He closed by quoting the Bible, where there is no vision, the people perish. It was a call to the assembly to act not just with reason but with foresight, empathy, to draft a constitution worthy of India's past and future. The first meeting of the Constituent Assembly was more than procedural gathering. It was a declaration that Indians would now define India. Over the next 2 years, 11 months, and 17 days, these members would debate, revise, and eventually finalize the Constitution. December 9, 1946, marked the quiet but powerful beginning of that journey. In a still colonized land, 207 Indians sat together not to ask for power but to build it. Their work gave India not just a constitution but a vision. And it all began with a promise made in a lamp lit hall in New Delhi. Jai Hind, this is Hartaj signing off.